Page 128, Toccata in D minor by J.S. Bach. On page 127, they're introducing you to a beast known as a 32nd note. Oh, goody. A 32nd note, there's two of them equal to a 16th note. In other words, they go faster and faster and faster. And there's 64th notes and 128th notes. It gets interesting. Not for piano so much, but for like drums and other instruments it might be. In this toccata, we have the 32nd notes. Right at the beginning, you see them there. Well, let's take this really slow so we understand the rhythm. You probably have heard this piece, and you could just play it according to how you've heard it, and you don't worry so much about counting the rhythm, but I would like you to understand the rhythm, seriously. You might run across some ugly looking thing like this that you've never heard before, and you might like to be able to figure out what the rhythm is. This is in common time or 4/4 time, so a quarter note gets a beat. So if a quarter note gets a beat, an eighth note gets half a beat. Now what I do on these, I take a pencil and I draw a little vertical line above the notes, above the staff. At each beat, tell me where the beat is, and then I'll draw another smaller vertical line in between the beats showing the and. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and. That shows me where those are. So then I can figure out, okay, the 16th notes come in between the 8th note. So 1 E and 2, and then the 32nd notes come in between those. Well, don't really count 32nd notes because 1 E and is about as fast as I can go. So at the beginning, the first notes are easy enough. They're on beat 1 here. Both hands are in the upper clef here. So if you take the two 32nd notes and the 16th note together, that's 1/8 note. Because two 32nd notes equal a 16th note. Two 16th notes equal an 8th note. So all those first three notes, those two 32nd notes and an 8th note is 1/8 note. The 8th note is tied to another 8th note, which makes it a full beat. So it's 1 and 2 and 1 and, because 1 and. The 8th note with the fermata above it is on the and of 1. 1 and. 1 and. So leave out the 32nd notes and it's 1 and. If I play the first grouping as 16th notes and I leave out the 32nd note, too many numbers. It's 1 and. 1 and. Then I stick in that 32nd note in between them. It's a. And then I tie the 8th note. Because it's tied to the next 8th note, then it's there. And I think bum, but I'm holding down the other 8th note. Bum, like so. There's a fermata on that, so you hold it for a while until you're tired of sounding really fancy, and then we go on. 16th note rest, then 4 32nd notes. 2 32nd notes per 16th note. So 1 16th note rest, 2 32nd notes is another 16th note, 2 more 32nd notes is another 16th note, followed by another 16th note. So all together, all that mess is one beat. All that comes on beat 2. Leave out the 32nd notes. Play the 8th note when it comes in. So it's like 2 and, 2 and. So at the beginning it's 1. The second beat is all of this. It's a rest, and these notes, all of these notes in second beat, because that last 8th note comes on beat 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's weird. You have to really break it down slowly and slowly. The next measure isn't so bad. It starts out with the same rhythm here, but then the 16th notes, 1 E and 1, 2 E and 2 E and 1, 2 and then the third measure is down here, and then the same rhythm as the first measure. Now this tempo at the beginning is marked adagio moto, which means very slow. Moto is very, adagio is slow. So this isn't something really fast, which is great because otherwise you wouldn't have time to do the 30-second notes. So it's like a 1, 2, 3, just slow. 1, 2, 3. Then the 4 is, and there's a hold on 4, and this, and there's a hold there, and then 2, and then there's a hold there, and then the next measure, there's a hold there, and then 2, 2, 3, and there's a hold on 4. Kind of sets the stage for what's coming, huh? Sounds great on an organ. Second line, second measure. Your left hand starting out way down. It's marked here, but it's an AVA under it, so it's way down here. And the right hand, follow this fingering, it's important. 2, 3, 1, legato, 2, 3, 1. Hold the 1 down, that G is tied way over. Hold it down. Now the B flat is tied. There's a B flat in the key signature. Huh? C sharp. Hold the C sharp down because it's tied, and then the E. It's actually a full diminished 7th chord is what it is. But when you add this to it, you get a full sound out of that. Now those notes in the right hand are triplets. You see the little 3 underneath, and they're barred in groups of 3. So it's 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then the last measure of that line, it's here. Now that hold the G down, it's tied, and use 3, 5 on the others. And I substitute the second finger for the G, so I can play the E and then the F sharp. All that neat. I know it's pedal, but do it with the fingers anyway. So those 2 measures are this way. 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3. Like so. Now on top of that, add the pedal. We're going to legato pedal all of this. Just reinforce all the harmonics that's coming out of it. Push the note down first and then the pedal. And then hold it down. And I'm going to change it after I play the half notes and that last measure. And then with each note, I'm going to change the pedal. Now I'll lift the pedal in the hands at the same time. Fun, huh? Next line, now it's allegro. How allegro it is, I'm not sure. It's fast. You can find recordings of this, but don't get carried away. Keep it slow until you learn it. We have a pattern going on here, and they're triplets. Now, you'll notice that it has an 8th note pickup. Well, it's the style of the time. This is Bach and Baroque music. This is a long time ago, where when they had things like this, the 8th note, any 8th notes mixed in with these triplets would be automatically played as triplets. So the first 8th note is like a triplet, the last note of a triplet. It's the same speed as the triplets. And the last 2 8th notes in that measure, play them as triplets. And they're with the thumbs. And this is important because we're going to have a sequence going up. We're going to use the same fingering. Then the same thing going on. Keep going. Next line. Same thing on the next one, except a little different pattern, but it's still triplets. I don't like using a thumb on the left hand at first. I prefer a second finger. Notice I'm using the same fingering as I'm going down. And none of that is pedaled. And then we get back to this. And those are not triplets, those are 8th notes. those last 4 notes are tied, so hold that down in the right hand. Even though the pedal's down through all of this, and then the 2 beats tied to the next measure for 2 beats. Now a toccata is a touch piece. We have toccatas and sonatas and symphonies and all these different kinds of things. We don't do symphonies on piano unless there's an arrangement. But a toccata is a touch piece. It's like a sonata is a sound piece where they can show off the sound of the instrument and the various harmonies and things they can get. A toccata is very touchy, a lot of fingery stuff going on. This is, of course, is one for an organ. But we'll do it on piano. I really don't know why they put it in this book, because this is not an easy piece to play at all. But they did, so we'll cover it. Now on the 3rd line down, the first two beats of the first measure are tied. They're held over from before, so you're here. And then on beat 3 is the first 16th note. 3 E and a 4 E and 3 E and a 4 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So it's 1, 2, 3 E and a. Then the next measure it starts with a triplet. 1 and a 2 and 3. 1 and a 2. And then another triplet. And so on the first beat is the triplets. The second beat are the 2 8th notes. The third beat, 3. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. The last 8th note there on the jig, the F, that's on beat 4. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the rest of them come up. It's weird. But then the last measure is a chord with pedal. I'm going to lift the hands and the pedal at the same time. Now we're going to start out softly and we're going to change our speed again. The speed for the next line is marked meno, mosso, e staccato. Staccato is not a speed. Meno, mosso means less motion. Staccato means staccato. And so on these, it's alternating. Just 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and 2. Once you get that going, just focus on the right hand because that's the melody. I recommend a little accent at least every other beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 3. You get down to the last line, the hands are in each other's way, so get the left hand down and let the right hand go over it. And they're both playing the A for a little bit, so make sure you get short staccatos. Third finger, use third finger in the left hand. That way you can get it down here out of the way as the right hand's coming over it. And third finger at the beginning here. And the next note on the next page is E. Then you can rest a bit. Gives you time to turn the page. Page 130. 1 E and a 2 E and a. So it's 1 and 2 E and a 3. 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Those are 8th notes in the left hand. And then 8th notes. So the second measure is 1 E and a 2 E and a 2. And again, it says broadly up above that measure, so you can spread this out a little bit. Bring out you see in the right hand when you get to the last 3 beats of that measure, there's a stem going down. That's a quarter note. So hang on to it. That's the melody. And the second line, first measure, the A, the bottom note in the chord is melody. And then you do it again. So it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. Broadly again. Now tempo means go back to the tempo you were at. We had that in the line before. And so we have the 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3. And you work these out very slowly at first until you can gradually speed them up to the speed they go. 2. I recommend a little accent on each beat. So it's 1, 2, 3. Now I'm holding the A down. I'm releasing all the other notes. I'm not playing the A again. It's tied. So it's 1, 2, 3. They got 2 16th notes in there. Did you see that? So it's that last measure is 1 E and 2 E and 3. You watch that and just follow their fingering. It'll get you there. Then there's a hold on the B flat. Then we go back to this broadly thing again. It's an octave higher. And then back to this. Broadly. I've added another chord and then go on. And I'm legato pedaling all of this. And then here is the bottom line there on 130 is 1. You're holding that, and then the 8th note is on the and of 2 when you get done holding it. So it's 2 and 3. Remember the C sharp in the chord still applies when you're going up. Then you hold that, and then 16th notes, 1 E and a 2 E and a. I like the fingering on the last chord of the page. That's good. And the left hand is hold the chord, pedal down, and then going on. Well, look at this on page 131. The C sharp in the right hand and the E in the left hand are tied. So I'm going to lift the pedal and all the fingers except those notes here, and that starts the triplets. Now we're in allegro moderato, sort of a moderate fast speed. Forget that till you learn it. And they're saying pedal ad lib. I frankly don't like the pedal if I don't have to use it. An organ, you don't have a sustaining pedal. I recommend you learn to play this without pedal at all. So here it's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a, and take it slow. Watch their fingering. Now at the beginning of the page on 131, the fingering they're showing for the right hand is 4-3. That means play it with a 4 and substitute third. I disagree. I wouldn't do any substitution there. Just leave it on that. But then after you play the E and you come back to the C sharp, then use the third finger. And the left hand, they're showing a 1-2. That you pretty much have to do because you need the thumb for the G. The second note, that's a G. So that finger substitution you pretty much have to do. So it's here. Then follow their fingering. It's going to feel a little weird at first, but just follow it. A little accent on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you get better at it, you can speed it up. Now watch the second measure, the last triplet. The fingering's changing in the left hand, so you're here, 2, because we got to go down, and then watch, just do the fingering they've got, it's fine. Then you're going down again, second measure, the second line, you got to go down here. I prefer to do in the right hand, 4, 3, 2, so I don't have to play a thumb on a black note, but you can play their fingering if you'd rather. It's here. Now a third line we're going to start going back up. Watch the fingering carefully. 2, 4. Now I disagree with their fingering here in the right hand. These first two measures are the third line down. They've got 2, 1, 2, 1, 4. They've anchored the thumb on that E. And you can do that if you want. I feel that's a little awkward. So I prefer on the third beat of this measure, of the first measure, third line, use fourth finger on that E. I'm only using the thumb when I've got a G coming up. Otherwise, in the next measure, fourth finger on the E. If it's followed by the C sharp, I use 4. And then you may find that confusing. It's up to you which one you use, but that's what I'm recommending. You try it at least. So the third line. Then the last measure you hear. Chords. This molto maestoso is very majestic and very loud because you just did a crescendo, I hope, in the fourth line, the first measure. You're crescendoing in that. And then the chords, the bottom notes and the right hand are both thumb notes. And again, legato pedal. It has a pesante there. It just means rather heavy and plain as a legato pedal, each of these. We want lots of overtones. And now you have a retardando. Now watch out on this next to the last measure. On the third beat, you're here. You're holding them all down, play the C sharp, let go of the D. And then you're holding it down again, and they're saying a thumb, but I like to do a substitution here and put the second finger on that A so I can play the G with the thumb and connect it. Here, and then the last note, I'm recommending a 1-3-5, and the left hand, by the way, is an 8-8 down here. And that way I'm holding the D, the A and the D down, and then I'm going to legato the F sharp and the E and the F sharp. And I can do that, but I have to have the thumb on the first note to do that, on the G. So the last line is here. At the end, and then you're going to hold this down and just check out to see how many people are sleeping, because nobody should be sleeping when you finish this thing. And then pedal and hands all come up at the same time. Ta-da!